welcome to NAPOD, where we provide NA speaker meetings and workshops in a podcast. We are an ad-free podcast, and if you enjoy listening, please help us to be self-supporting by visiting napod.xyz, look for the donate link, and drop $1 or $2 in the virtual basket. If you're also in AA or have friends that are, please tell them about our other podcast, Sobercast. Sobercast features AA speakers and workshops in the same format as NAPOD. We upload a new speaker every day, and it's easy to subscribe by searching for Sobercast, that's 2 words, on any podcast player app, or go to Sobercast.com. Enjoy the podcast, and thanks for listening.
Share meeting, and I'm really pleased that Toni's come along to share her experience, strengths and hope with us tonight for about 20-30 minutes, as long as you like, really. Thank you, Toni.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, I'm Toni M, an addict. Thank you for asking me, Tom. It's good to be here, and it's lovely to see you guys as well, and I'm kind of glad that it's a nice, small meeting, really. And of course I have been obsessing a little bit about what I'm going to share. And I guess I want to say that, you know, in this meeting I picked up my 9-month key ring, and in 8 days I'll be picking up my 5-year key ring. And there are people in this room who were there in my first meeting this time round, and who worked at the treatment centre where I came to in my early days, people who have been around since my early days, and people who I work with steps, you know, today. And that's lovely. And it's kind of, and I'm also aware that it's being recorded, and basically I remember when I first sort of like came round, like this time round when I was ready to hear the message of Narcotics Anonymous. I kind of like, it's amazing nowadays the technology that we've got, you know, and how much we've grown as a fellowship. I mean, I suppose the short time that I've been around, it probably hasn't changed a huge amount, the growth, but I know it's changed loads in the last, I think it's going to be, 50 or 60 years we're celebrating this year. So, you know, it has grown, and I was able to get onto the internet, like do online meetings, whether that's through Skype or, you know, just that type of instant messenger stuff, chat rooms where people are there pretty much day or night, you know, because the thing is, it didn't matter what time of the day it was, what day of the year it was, what was going on, I used. So I kind of pretty much need that in my recovery as well. I think, you know, we're blessed, you know. I don't believe I'm not that much of a grateful addict to be grateful for the fact that I'm an addict, but, you know, I do feel blessed, and I feel grateful for the fact that there is so much support available. Yeah, so as well as doing that, I got onto the internet, and I remember, like, for the first sort of month of not using, you know, my first sort of month of being clean, I just couldn't sleep. I just could not sleep. And so what I did was I listened to shares online, and I kind of like just want to give a shout out to people who do that, because I remember myself like at that stage of just desperation, that total and utter desperation of just wanting to get clean and stay clean, and the fact that there were all these other people around me who were doing the same thing was just amazing. You know, I kind of, you know, and to backtrack, I suppose it is a cliche, loads of people say it, but for me also, I am definitely, you know, to this day people pick up on the fact that I'm a bit of a loner, you know, and I realise that is kind of a bit of a state of mind as opposed to an actuality, because I don't live in Alaska, and I don't live, you know, in the jungle or in the desert where there aren't people around me, but I can quite easily isolate myself. And I've shared this before, you know, I could be in a room full of clones of myself and still feel isolated, you know. It's not about other people, it's about my state of mind. So I definitely kind of, yeah, had that with me throughout, and I believe that I used because I couldn't deal with my feelings. I don't know, I just, in a way, it doesn't matter. You know, it says in our preamble about it doesn't matter, you know, what or how much we used. And it's kind of, I don't even believe it necessarily matters why. It's kind of like, for various reasons, you know, I used. And that was my day-to-day life, pretty much. You know, it became a bit of a running joke with people and me, because any day of the week I'd be like, well, it's Tuesday, of course we're going to use today. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of, there was never, you know, at first it was the weekend, and then it was this excuse of that, but eventually it was just like, you know, I heard someone else say, I'm awake, you know, I'm awake, of course I'm going to use, you know, and I totally identify with that. And I created a lot of chaos in my life, and I've always struggled with relationships with people, and I never realised that the problem was me, so I used more and I moved around a lot, thinking that there was this one place in the world, you know, if I moved there, everything, all my problems will disappear, everything will be sorted. And it took me a lot of time and effort, and money, you know, and the manipulation and the hustle and whatever that came along with that, to realise that actually, you know, wherever I go, there I am. And that was, you know, like, wow, it was a bit of a realisation. And although, and it says in our text about it's always darkest before dawn, you know, that was a bit of a dark moment. But what came from that is that realisation, you know, and on one hand it's really painful to think, oh my God, it's me, that's so painful, but actually it's also so freeing as well, because I can't do anything about most of the things that are outside of me, you know, but what I can do something about is what's going on inside. And it took me quite a while to kind of realise that, and I kind of getting clean and stuff, I realised suddenly that I wasn't like in a complete, like, ants in my pants kind of wanting to just move anywhere as far away from, especially people that knew me well, people that were close to me. And I realised that, oh, you know, maybe I'm starting to be a bit okay with myself. You know, and that is coming with time more and more as well, the more I kind of like work the programme. So I moved around a lot, and I ended up in a meeting, my very first time in a meeting. I didn't think I had a drug problem. I just wasn't one of those people that realised. Although everyone else around me did, you know, other people sort of suggested me going to a meeting, for example. But I don't know. They mentioned to me about the whole drug use, and I didn't hear it, or didn't want to hear it, or they didn't. I don't know. But I certainly don't remember anyone saying to me, "You have a problem." You know, if they had have done, I probably would have told them to do one, basically. So someone suggested that I go to a meeting, and I went, and I kind of didn't know what meetings were about. I'd never heard of them before. Again, maybe I had, but it just never registered. So, I had a drink for Dutch Courage before going to this meeting. I had to use for whatever I was doing in life. I had to use. So something like fear, uncomfortable feelings. Oh yeah, definitely have a good old use up on that. Not to feel any horrible feelings. It was kind of obvious to other people, and it was kind of obvious that I was broken, and I knew I was broken, but I didn't think I had a drug problem. Anyway, so I went to this meeting, although I didn't really know what it was, and I cried. I flipping just bawled my eyes out. And these meetings where I went to, they kind of buddied people up. They were big meetings, huge meetings, and they kind of buddied people up, and this girl kind of like took me out, you know, and got me a tissue and stuff, and I kind of, there was something about that meeting that made me want to go back. I'd yet again lost a job, as I'd lost many, was getting more and more skin, using money for drugs, didn't really want to look for another job, kind of was not happy, like I felt a little bit kind of uncomfortable about the fact that everyone else was going about doing their thing, and I was just sitting around using. But that was near the end, really. before that it used to be like, where's the party? Come on, why is every mug at work? This is just, you know, where are they all? I want a party, you know. It used to be like that, and then as time went on, I was kind of like, well, hang on a minute, you know, this is a bit weird. Maybe this is not okay. Yeah. So it was like people were lovely to me. People were nice to me. They gave me hugs. I don't really remember what they said necessarily. I just felt the ambience, the kind of. It must have been the love, although at the time I don't think that is what, you know, it didn't sort of click. I just thought, oh, I could come back here again. And the way they did it over there, they had home groups and stuff, and they would cook and things. So they would feed people, you know, they'd feed like newcomers and stuff, and they fed me, you know. And I didn't have a lot of money. I was used to steal out of our communal pot that we had for like stuff for the house, domestic stuff for the house, and get the bus down to the home group and get fed, you know, and hang out and stuff. And the other thing is that I liked about the people that I met in NA is that, you know, they were just as mental as I was. And finally I felt like I could talk about all that crazy stuff that I felt was alienating me from the rest of the world, basically. I could actually talk about, you know, the ants in the road or whatever was flipping going on in my head at the time. And they were kind of all right with that, you know, and they kind of had their own crazy stuff as well. And that was cool. And but I wasn't ready, you know, and although I thought at the time the word God put me off, the thing that put me off the most is that you guys were telling me to put the drugs down. And I thought, well, no, hang on a minute, this is all good, but I'm not going to be doing that, you know. Yeah. And the fact that I was living with people who were using, I was working in a bar, you know, it was pretty much a recipe for disaster. I just lasted maybe a couple of weeks, if that. And the people that I lived with were like, oh, great, you're clean now, you look after the baby, we're off out partying. And it was all a bit like, whoa, okay. It was very strange. Yeah, and it didn't last. And I kind of did the whole, I relapsed quite quickly, and I hung out. This is, I think, really important. You know, I'm passionate about this. It's kind of like I did the whole hanging out outside the meeting, smoking cigarettes, not really being in the meeting. Do you know what I mean? I did the whole, I'm in the meeting, but I'm not in the meeting. And I just wasn't, you know, and that's okay, because at the end of the day, I wasn't ready, you know. And for me, I had to go back out there, I don't know, almost another year, I think, before I you know, I suppose I reached my rock bottom, and I came back crawling on my hands and knees, help me. Yeah, but so I kind of hung out with the rebellious crowd and relapsed very quickly, and yeah, and just carried on using. And I used to bump into people that were still doing meetings and were clean, and I'd be like on a mission to score and stuff, and it was the most uncomfortable feeling. Like I'd just be like, oh, see ya, bye, you know. And they were really blatant, like, you know, you relapse or you using? I just like, okay, see ya, you know. I just did not want to know. Yeah, and so eventually, yet again, I'd run out of money, pissed everyone off, etc., etc., etc. And went running back to my parents, which I did quite a lot. Yeah, and then I did the whole, well, I'm just going to drink alcohol because that is socially acceptable. You know, maybe I do need to knock the drugs on the head. You know, I'm kind of super paranoid, super depressed. All this stuff's going on in my life. Maybe the drugs, yeah, but not the drink. And that just never worked for me. I was never able to just have a drink. The minute I picked up a drink, I was like, right, what's next? And it wasn't like a conscious decision. It's kind of, I totally understand where, you know, we talk about that powerlessness. Once I have that first one, it does not matter what it is, I'm off. My head is off. And it's kind of, I've learnt to listen to other people's experiences. I do not have to go through everything to realise that I shouldn't do that. Do you know what I mean? And it's kind of, it's not a good idea. So I listen to people, I listen to the fact that even with time clean, I need to keep doing this stuff, you know, service, meetings, sponsorship, working steps, I think that's it. You know, it's kind of like staying honest and in contact with people in the fellowship, and yeah, I need to keep doing this. And And I want to keep doing this because I feel like I am growing. You know, I'm learning more and more about myself. I have a relationship with a higher power today, which I didn't have before. I think I wasn't brought up like in a religion, although I was baptised and I was, I don't know what they call it, Orthodox Church, something. Don't know what the word is for that. But yeah, it wasn't like we you know, it wasn't a religious practicing family or anything like that. But yeah, I did kind of get into the whole Christian stuff in my early teens, and it really frustrated me. And that was a fear-based faith, in that I thought that I would go to hell if I don't read the Bible, X, Y, Z, whatever I had to do, pray and stuff. And that didn't last. You know, I kind of didn't want to do it in the end. I was like, what if there is no hell? Do you know what I mean? And then what? I've wasted all... This is how I felt. I wasted all this time, like, you know, doing the stuff that I don't want to do, and it just didn't sit right with me. And I rebelled against it. And the faith that I have today is very different to that. It's based in love. I have a higher power, like it says in the book. You know, loving, caring, greater than me. That's it. You know, that's it. Loving, caring, greater than me. And people did try and explain it. First time round in NA, they tried to explain it to me. They said to me, "Oh, your jacket could be your higher power," or something. That was a bit weird, but you know, I just wasn't ready at the time. And yeah, so having remembered about NA and stuff, and realising that I couldn't do it on my own, you know, and this, you know, the stuff that I put the people around me through as well. The level of paranoia, I don't know if if anyone, I'm sure there'll be someone who identifies with this, that horrible paranoia when you just think everyone's against you, including, like, it got to a point where my mum, right, she would come and, like, sleep in the same bed as me because I was so freaked out. I was going to swear then, but I didn't. And I would think, like, in that Terminator type movie where, you know, she's evil and all this sort of stuff. It's horrible. It's a horrible, lonely place to be. And having, like, those kind of anxiety and paranoia attacks where your whole body is like, I felt like I was possessed and stuff. You know, horrible. Yeah, I don't have that anymore. You know. And the early days of, like, getting panicked. I used to carry a brown paper bag around with me everywhere I went so I could breathe into it every time, because I used to get that kind of panic attacks a lot. Don't get them anymore, you know? It's amazing. So yeah, so I remembered about NA, and I picked up the phone to the helpline, and I looked up the stuff on the internet like I'd said, and I listened to the shares and bawling my eyes out, going, yes, you know, total identification, reading the basic text online, which, you know, was available back then, and just identifying, you know, and saying to my mate that I lived with, like, you know, who's bang at it, bless her, look, isn't this great, you know, and I thought it was great, you know, she didn't, but that's okay. Maybe she'll get it one day. Yeah. So I came to meetings, and I got that Who is an Addict card my first meeting this time round, and I got about halfway through, and someone here who was in that meeting with me, and the meeting was tiny. There's 6 of us maybe. It wasn't a big meeting, and I got the Who is an Addict card, and I didn't know that you had to read. I just kind of plonked myself down on a chair, and I got about halfway through and burst out crying because it was just so true. Do you know what I mean? It rang so true with me. And I sort of had to hand it over, and there were times where I'd be really upset, and I got a sponsor very quickly, and I would get upset and I'd leave the room, you know, and go and cry in the kitchen, and she'd kind of follow me out and say, look, you know, the best place for you to be is in here. And that's always stuck with me, you know, unless I'm going to use the loo or I've got an emergency call, you know, I pretty much stay in the room, because it's kind of like, this is where I get well. You know, I don't kind of spend my time out there. You know, that's been my experience anyway, and I think that's invaluable. You know, all these little gems that we get from people who've been around longer than us, that know something about something, more than I certainly, you know, did and still do to some extent. Yeah, and people were just lovely to me. And again, I don't remember what they said, but the fact that they hugged me and gave me their numbers and told me to keep coming back and gave me suggestions, I was just like, you know, it's kind of like it was my lifeboat. At that point, I was like, right, I'm ready. I'm so ready now. You can tell me whatever it is you're going to tell me that's going to make me like stay clean. I'll do it. Whatever it is. And it just gives me, you know, that feeling. I really connect with that. It is something special. So yeah, that gift of desperation, that willingness, I had that. And I had open-mindedness because all my other efforts had totally failed. And I was fairly honest, I think. Honesty is still something that I work, you know, it's a work in progress. But I am good at grassing myself up, like, because the bottom line is I don't want to use anymore. And for the first year of my recovery, I was so scared of using. I literally had to like cross the road if I saw someone that I'd used with, or I went near an offie or anything like that, because I really thought that without wanting to, I would go and use, because that has been my experience. Because I hung out with people who used, I didn't hang out with people who, like you guys, who are clean, you know, and doing meetings and stuff. And that's what I learnt to do: hang out with the people who are clean, you know. Yeah, get your support from them, not from people that you used to use with, because it's the whole thing of, if you hang out with someone long enough, you will end up doing what they do, basically. That's been my experience, at least. So I got a sponsor quickly, and I got service quickly as well. I got loads of service positions. I went a bit nuts with those. Had about 4 or 5 service positions. And did loads of meetings, as many as I could, and I had to go to different fellowships because we had 2 meetings in my town at the time. And I didn't want to, and I'd ring my sponsor and be like, I don't want to go, and she'd be like, you're going to go. You know, and it's kind of like, I just didn't want to use, so I went. Simple as, basically. And sometimes it was literally, you know, a matter of just for the next few minutes, you know, I'm not going to use. And I had to ring people and stuff, and I did go into treatment when I was like a few days clean, and I used to. We were told to ring people, ring our peers, and sometimes it'd be so on me, the thought of I'm going to literally walk out the door now and go and score, that I'd ring someone and. Then ring someone else, and it's kind of, I then realised that it was a passing phase. It's not something that was going to stay with me forever. And it's like all feelings, you know, they eventually pass. They change into a different feeling usually. That's when I realised that, okay, NA wasn't going to sort of, I don't know, I expected people to fix me. I expected to be able to ring someone and instantly feel better, you know, and that kind of didn't happen. But yeah, I learned to use my support network, basically, and I'm certainly there for people if they need me. Do you know what I mean? It's like we support each other. And I did like service. I started doing GSR quite early on as well, and you know, my life, not because of the GSR position, but my life did improve. You know, through everything that I was doing. My life improved. And I personally, at about 18 months, you know, I got a paid job. I was doing lots of voluntary stuff before then, and I was really scared to do that, to go back into paid work, you know, and there were tough times, but I did it. You know, it's kind of that whole feel the fear and do it anyway. And I was in a situation today where I felt the fear but did it anyway, you know. I was going into Observer High School, naughty, flipping, remembering myself and my classmates when we were terrorists. When I was in, because most of the time I was skiving, I had a terrible attendance record. When I was in, we were just, you know, our poor maths teacher, she pretty much had a nervous breakdown because of us. So going in there today, and I've had this whole kind of, you know, 1 minute my self-esteem's down there, next minute my ego's up here. I've just had that kind of day. It's been a bit of a roller coaster. And going in there today, I was just scared, thinking, oh my God, like, because I'm thinking about doing a teacher training qualification. Just last week, the share was saying how, well, apart from teacher training qualification, her course is the hardest. I'm thinking, oh my God, what am I getting myself in for? But yeah, I've just got to try things out. You know, the world is kind of like my oyster, and it's like, I love one of my languages is Spanish, and you know, I really like that language, actually. So that helps. And if I can try and find and earn my money in a way that I actually enjoy, then flipping amazing. I did a stint of working in the substance misuse field, and I personally found that difficult, and I know that a lot of people in the fellowship do it, and I take my hats off to them. I think that's great, really great. I found that difficult, and I suppose, you know, that's the beauty as well of NA, is we're all, of the world, not just NA, that we're all good at different things, you know. Yeah, so, and it was a good experience today. The kids were all right. The kids are all right, bless them. Generally. So yeah, it's another challenge, and it's like, I'm going to feel the fear and do it anyway, and who knows what life's going to bring. I've been to some amazing places throughout my, you know, through recovery and stuff. Been to the Barcelona World Convention, which was just, it was the biggest high, the biggest natural high I've ever felt. It was amazing. I recommend anyone. And it's like, you don't have to, you know, we have stuff nearby. We had our first convention in this area. That was amazing. It was amazing to be part of that as well. Stay in the middle of NA, you know. That's what I've done. I've stayed right in the middle. And there have been times where I've sailed close to the edge, and people have seen that. And thank God that I do grasp myself up, and I do keep myself in the middle of NA, so people can tell when I'm going downhill. Because if I keep myself to myself, do you know what I mean? If I'm on the edge, eventually I will just drop off the edge, and that'll be that. So yeah, and I've also taken up my hobbies that I'd put down before I started. Well, no, even when I was using, like, using basically came in front of everything, including the things that I liked doing, like music, you know, and I've been able to do that in NA, like get over myself basically, and kind of be loved, just be the process of being loved. And I have learned to love myself. I do believe that, and again, it's a work in progress. You know, hopefully I know there's more to come. I know there's more to come. If I keep doing this, there's definitely more to come. And it is, you know, and there are tough times, but when I do this stuff, it's just so much easier to handle. You know, I am worth it. That was one of my goals in treatment, is to say I'm worth it, L'Oreal, that kind of thing. But, you know, it's that whole thing of just, you know, even if you don't believe it, just keep doing it. Put one foot in front of the other, you know. You eventually will catch up with it, and it will become entrenched and stuff. And yeah, so I have wonderful people in my life today. There's absolutely no way I could do it without you lot, and I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Tom, I'm an addict.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Please help us improve our ranking so others can find us by putting a review on Stitcher, iTunes, or your favorite podcast index. Nawpod is ad-free thanks to the folks supporting the show with $1 or more per month. If you enjoy listening, you can join them by going to nawpod.xyz and looking for the donate link. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.